Hello and welcome to this live session of Storytel. Now, in this live session, we are actually be talking about the new Storytel original that we have just launched a week back. It is called The Lives and Teachings of Indian Thinkers. Now, why do a live of a series where we are talking about the amazing, beautiful lives of the people or the masters, the gurus, the thinkers that India has seen since last so many years, and these are not something that people are not aware of. Like we know the lives of Paramhansa Yogananda, we know about Swami Om, we know about Sadhguru, we know about Jiddu Krishnamurti, and Swami Chinmananda. Now, why did we feel the need to do a live? Now, when we go through a journey of creating a series where we are talking about the lives which are no ordinary lives, they are really, really meaningful. They have touched millions and millions of lives of others. So when we talk about them, when we research about them, when we learn something which was probably very new to us, we never even knew a certain way of life that some of these teachers have told us, and maybe we were aware of one part of it and not the other. But the amazing thing about this series, and which I also kind of enjoyed in the whole process, was Vinita, who is the writer of the series, Amol Raikar, who is the writer of the series, and Anish Nair, who is the narrator of the series. All of us, I'm sure, has come across these lives and known about something new that they never knew about. And these newness is not something ordinary. And I'm sure these are all creative people. We are all into the business of creation. We are in the process of continuously creating something new. And I was very, very keen to understand from my fellow team that what they must have gone through while going through this whole process of making the series, and what kind of a difference this series has made into their lives. So without wasting much time, I'm going to bring in my fellow team, and also these wonderful people who has really helped me to get this series out. Hi Anish, hi Vinita.
I
Hello. I can see a little. I can
Hello.
hear a vibration. Is it echoing? Is my voice echoing, or is
No,
it all right? Okay, great, wonderful. So, guys, this is a series where we have spoken about the lives of people like Sadhguru. We have spoken about lives of Jiddu Krishnamurti, Paramhansa Yogananda, Swami Chinmananda, Rishi Aurobindo, and many more. And also, these are not only biographical pieces. We have actually dwelled as much as we can on their teachings. And also, we have tried to give the information of how similar or different they are from each other. And of course, these are very crucial space. We can't be claiming to know all of them, and interpreting their teachings in a new or something in a new way or a different way. So I would like to start with Vinita and Amol. I mean, of course, Vinita first. Say, what was your experience and what were you going through when you were doing all this researches or writing this series? So what was your experience, Vinita?
um, I want to confess here that when the series came to me, I was really apprehensive of taking something up. I think I worry about the integrity of a project when you come with your own perspective into anything, and because you're dealing with real lives, right? I'm more comfortable with non-fiction for me. So with fiction, not non-fiction, and therefore I was very worried because when you do a series like this, each person, just from the craft of writing, is the protagonist, right? And so you want to see, want to see you want to see them completely. You want to give a balanced view. You want to be fair to the reader. So I came with all of that, when I started off the project, and I must say that I really enjoyed it. I've done 2 biographies before as a children's author, I've done Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, and I've done Mirabai, and I struggle through them. Not with the writing, with just the process of putting your facts and creating it interestingly. And I think here, for me, this was a huge learning curve. I think I learned a lot about these people, about their lives. We went very, really deep into the narratives. They're teaching their lives, what brought them, what made them take the path they took. And for me, that was incredible. You know.
I remember I had shared the first draft of Paramhansa Yogananda with you,
Yeah.
and I think I remember discussing that. Okay, this is not working. Make something out of it. And I think we went through. I mean, I think million times
Lots of
the craft of telling the story when you talk about these lives which are so big.
Yes.
And of course, then came in Amol, where he started actually doing all the research and all the first drafts and all. Amol has been very, very much part of. Amol, tell me, what was your experience when, and what has been new in your life, or what has that process been like for you?
Okay, so initially when you gave me those 10 names to write, okay, 9 names, sorry, to write, I didn't know much about these people. Okay, I had only watched Wild Wild West about Osho and a few videos of Sadhguru, I think. So when I wrote the first 1,500 or 2,000 words, I felt like, this wasn't interesting me anymore. It wasn't just interesting me. Okay. So, what I did was I wrote down two questions. Okay. How did these people from their normal life transition into a spiritual world? Okay. And the second question was, why did they do it? I mean, was it their career plan? Did Sadhguru had this career plan to become a spiritual guru? No. Okay. So then I had 10 interesting stories about, that only the transition of these people. Okay. And the second question was, why did they become, why would Om Swami renounce like $1 million of dollars and go to the Himalayas? I mean, that was a question which really intrigued me so much. And so then I once heard Sadhguru saying that, you know, he had from a very young age started showing, signs of this spiritual thing. But, one day when we went to this, some Chamandi
Sound.
Hill,
Hmm.
yes, and he experienced this divine spiritual power, and he came down as a mystic. So that was quite interesting for me. I mean, how could this thing happen to someone? And how could he was even he was a successful businessman, and he left everything and he followed this spiritual path. So that was quite interesting for me, to write. And if you see the first 20 minutes of all the pieces, you will find I have mostly focused on how did they transition from a normal life to a spiritual into the spiritual world, and that really fascinated me about these people.
Hmm. So, Anish, coming to you now, you had actually probably narrated or recorded rather all these episodes one after another in each day. Kind of, we have at least spent some hours or days like on one particular person or personality or on the scripts, but you must have done it like on the go, like one after another. So, how
So
was
I'm
that
doing
experience?
every visionary, so it's like one visionary a day of sorts.
Mm.
And I absolutely, first of all, hats off to Vinita and Amol for doing so much research and giving me a concise form, because it itself is a very tedious process of what to choose to be given as a narration and what not to be chosen. Because at the end of the day, we there are a lot of people who have beliefs in these visionaries, and we have to make sure that we say things which they understand. At the same time, they also realize that every visionary has gone through a process. So what their mindsets would be having, I think this special Storytel original is going to take care of their mindsets mainly. And it took care of my mindset, because I was thinking, okay, fine, this guy just might have done this, might have. So these might have actually given me a closure of sorts, and it has made me feel really comfortable, because now I can say that these people were the ones who took the leap of faith. And in every visionary which I have read about, it was okay, fine. I do understand that the information was quite overwhelming because every day I was reading about all the visionaries and thinkers. But what I could find common in all of them were the leap of faith, that particular leap of faith that the visionary takes, and that transforms him, as Amol had already mentioned, into a person which we see today, but only an evolved form of it, him or her. So I think that was a good experience for me because I could actually imagine myself, imagine myself being there through their whole journey, right from the point where they were born in a family which may have not been that famous, to an individual where the whole world looks up to. So I think that's the whole journey of me reading itself was a very good experience for me.
And all these lives or these amazing journeys that we see, they are not very, and of course we have tried to keep it like that they are not very hunky-dory, or we have not tried and kept all the nice things and the best and the beautiful things that they have gone through. In fact, we have actually gone and kind of covered spaces where they were really criticized, or they've gone through really harsh times or experiences that they've gone through. So I would like to now again ask this question that starting from Vinita again, what you see, what do you find, what is the overall feeling that you get from all these teachings? I mean, can you, when we look at all these 10 lives in front of us, what is the overall takeaway or the overall feeling that you get from this, like about a spiritual life?
I just want to say a little bit before I answer this question. I think one of the challenges that we try to balance out, I think, as a team, Suramita, was, I think, the fact that information is available online, on the net. So to find the answers to some of the information was important. And that is why the series, I think, is really special. We just didn't cram it with information. We also told the whys. We found the stories and we got that texture in. I think that is the thing, I think, that makes this series different from anything else that is available. And also the fact that we've always had, the three of us, I would have conversations about this, the fact that people can Google it and they can pull it down. So how much of teachings do we put in? How much of stories do we put in? How much of the grade do we put in? That balance, I think, is what I want to just add it before I answer. And now I've lost track of the question.
No, that's a very pertinent point. I will get back to the point that I was wanting you to answer. But before that, I would like to tell you there's a bit of a sound which is accompanying when you're speaking. Is it because of there's a bit of a lag, basically. So,
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it echoing or something? Is there an echo?
There's a sound, there's a accompanying sound coming just about when you speak.
Okay. I'm going to just check that out. Okay. Just would you want to ask a question to somebody else and I'll just check my sound?
You want to plug in your
I'll plug in my Bluetooth. Yeah, I will. In the meantime,
okay.
yeah.
I will meanwhile come to Amol. Amol, what do you think? What's the overall feeling that you get of a spiritual life when you look at all these beings?
What I felt was, after looking at all their lives, spirituality is not an answer to all your questions. Okay, I mean, spirituality is not the solution to all your problems. Okay, what spirituality does is it gives you a balance between the positive and negative aspects of our life. So I think this world is made up of two aspects. Okay, the yin and yang, the light and dark. Right now, as we speak, this planet is half into light and half into darkness. But still, we humans have found a way to live. Okay, we invented fire, we invented a bulb, and we invented everything. Okay, but we have found a balance to live between those circumstances. Okay, so spirituality actually teaches us how to maintain balance. Okay, during your bad times. Okay, it teaches you how to stay positive. Okay, that is what spirituality is. Okay, according to me, this is like my philosophy of spirituality. Okay, spirituality is like that pinch of salt in your food. The right amount will bring out the taste. Okay, so like with the right amount of spirituality in your life, it will bring out the joys in your life. You can say. So this is what spirituality is for me. Okay, but at the same time, I do not obsess over spirituality, because once I obsess over spirituality, I would expect miracles and magic to happen. Okay, so then comes these Baba culture, which we are facing right now in the country. Okay, so the people who do magic, most of them are in prison right now. Okay, so that is not spirituality. Spirituality for me is, a limited thing, which is mostly meditation. So that is what spirituality is for me. I have a very restricted thing for spirituality. I don't obsess over it. So this is what I have learned from these all these while researching.
Mm-hmm. What about
I
you,
think
Anish?
for me,
Yes, Vanita, coming back to you. Sorry, we'll come to Anish.
I think for me, it's incredible that each of them seemed to have had a mission that was seeded in them when they were very young. And I think that is incredible because that drove them to do the things they did, to become the leaders they were, to sway the masses they could, because it came from really inside them. Whatever the mission may be, it may be Paramahansa, his mission was to go to the West and take take knowledge out there. It could be Osho's, all of them had very, uh, I would say, very structured missions that there were signs also that these were there right when they were very young. All of them had an interesting story, an interesting perspective about how they were when they were young, that they had some divine audition for this. I think that was very, very interesting.
Nice.
Is
What
the
about you,
sound okay now?
Anish?
Is it better?
Little better, I guess. Yeah, little better. Yes, Anish.
Yeah, so I think what I have understood from the whole from the whole series is that spirituality actually talks about individualism, and it is very different from religion, where religion wants to gather the masses, but spirituality wants you to think what you are as an individual. And what I have seen in all these visionaries is they all had an option of being a part of the system, just going around with their normal lives. They could have done that, but they all chose to do otherwise, and they have just made it happen for themselves by believing in themselves. So I think spirituality is all about knowing. It's a kind of like a self evolution, like Amol just mentioned, and I think this is what spirituality is, and it is the need of the hour because there is so much information these days that is going around. We really don't know what we are supposed to absorb and what we are supposed to repel. Everything is going past us. So spirituality, I think it's very important because if you are as an individual, if you are confident as to what you need and what you feel you don't connect with, then I feel you are already spiritual. So spirituality for me is mainly individual. Concentrate on being the individual that you are. I think that is what most of the gurus have mentioned as well.
When I think about it, I somewhat feel that this is the time and age where people are so focused on success and money and commercial gains and the loss and the profits and this
Materialistically.
materialistic exchanges.
Yeah.
And I see the world divided in two very prominent groups of people. One are totally oblivious about the world that exists beyond the five senses, and the other world probably is somewhat aware, and some of them even if I get into a little stronger degree of people number, I mean, some people are really, really into it. But what really, I find it very interesting that, Vivekananda used to say that man's success or completion lies in knowledge, not pleasure. But and that particularly, this line kind of reflects in our society more or less, whether I want a certain good thing for me happening, or certain money coming in, or certain degree I want. At the end of the day, there is a bit of a lack inside somewhere. I think everybody feels it, that can I be a little better, not better than others, better than what I was yesterday. So I think this little discomfort we all live in, and maybe some people realize it and some people don't. And for some people, I think it is
Everyone realize it. It's just that some people just want to choose to numb themselves from thinking of
maybe
these. And some people are wanting to do something about it, but are just helpless because maybe they are just stuck in the rat race. They have their obligations to be taken care of. They have their ends to meet. So I feel that when it comes to knowledge as such, every person has got a different subjective view of what the word knowledge is. I personally feel that knowledge is something which is around us. Like everything that we see around us every day that we open up to is in a way knowledge to us, because it's like adding days to our age, but at the same time it is making us learn about a lot of things. So I think Vivekanand ji was really was absolutely true when he told about knowing spirituality as being knowledgeable. So that made sense a lot.
Well, I don't know whether it should be termed as a spirituality that he kind of described, but this idea is very apparent when we see that non-fiction as, or self-development or self-help or personality development as a genre is the most listened and most read genre in our country and the whole world. Whether it is for your betterment in the in your career or your life, or there are so many new professions coming up which are termed this new thing called life coach. They are not they are not probably the gurus or the masters or thinkers, but they are kind of giving something to people, maybe help to even manage their time of the whole
It's like
day.
handpicking an identity to them. Like this is the identity which you are from now. I think that's what a life coach basically does, according to me.
I
Obviously,
think discontentment has always had, in every era, every generation is discontented. I think that is the incredible thing. We think that are we on a quest now? Are we more spiritually inclined? Is this generation like this? Will the next generation not be like that? And I think every generation worries about this. And
Absolutely.
yet we are always searching for the truth. We're always searching for ways, like you said, internal, for the internal growth. And I think that is where all of this comes into play, pulls
Yeah.
in together to find those answers. Yeah. This
Yeah.
discontentment. Yeah.
Otherwise, why would so many people be attracted to a certain person
Yeah.
who's kind of showing them a light?
exactly. Unless and until
Absolutely.
you feel
Absolutely.
what in yourself, you are not going to search out or anything of that sort. The main reason majority of people even go to temples is because of miseries in life. Hardly there are people who actually feel grateful that, okay, fine, thank goodness this has happened to me and actually gone to a temple. Mostly people take their problems to the temple saying, okay, fine, mujhe exam mein pass kara do, make my child healthy, or make sure that he goes well, my business goes well. I think the main reason why anybody has opted for anything of that sort is when they feel a void. It might be family related, or it might be something which is internal. And I think this has been the major reason why people have actually gone forward and took took that step to follow an organization or a particular guru.
I would like to say that I think temples and churches are usually, most of the times, it's just habit. I don't know whether Some amount of it is when you are desperate, but sometimes it's just habit. Like every Tuesday you have to go to this temple,
It's
every Sunday you have to go for mass. So those things, of course, I would say, sometimes we just do it because we just don't know. We just It's a part of your schedule, and you're ordained, or you're bought up like that.
This is a wonderful point, that you brought out, because there are a lot of things we do, most of the things we do out of just the conditioning that the human mind or the humankind has gone
Yes.
through.
Yes.
And there is absolute ignorance when it comes to your way of life, because sometimes we just keep on doing the same things without even asking questions.
Asking questions.
That as simple as using a surname, I would say, or with somebody is very curious about it. But I'm just saying that we don't question, because we are just used to a certain pattern of living, that there is a choice that you can take the road less traveled, and you can probably kind of take another route and probably find joy to be your more important component of life, and not wait for one crisis to come and break your expectations, is something that we have been doing for a really long time.
Absolutely. Yes. I
um,
think it's also the complexity of the way we are as Indians. One is obedience. We will just do because we're told to do it.
yeah.
That is one of the things. Also, accessibility. For a large extent, a lot of religion, a lot of scripture, a lot of the chanting was not available to a large mass of people. And I think the gurus made it accessible. So one of the reasons why we had this kind of mass listening was it was accessible. I felt close, I felt listened to, I felt visible because of what you said to me, and I want to follow because other things seem meaningless to me. And I think that is also another very important factor as to why it flourished in certain points. I also have a theory that uh, you know groups and answers come to you at the time that you are in. It's not like you look for it. It seems it could be anywhere. You can see it anywhere here. And I
Yeah.
really feel when you are in a point of time in your life and something you're looking for an answer, and that answer approaches you, and that answer could be a guru, or it could be a kind of thinking or a methodology of thought.
Yeah. Or a book, maybe. It can come in any
Or
form.
a book.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think in my case, it has always been movies. So I don't
Wonderful.
know.
So I'm actually coming to this next question, which is very nice lead to understand what have been your personal. Do you have a certain path or practice that you guys have, starting from Anish? Because Anish was saying about, or anything that gives you a certain, that inner growth or inner calling, where you get the meat from.
So for me, while I was born in a Hindu family, there were a lot of things which I had to follow as a tradition, but that was just my parents wanting me to be a part of the system of sorts. But as you grow older, you realize that you start questioning them, and you are like, okay, fine. Now I really don't have to be a part of this because now I can explore into other avenues. And for me, my thought process has always made me a misfit. So because there were times when people would just go for sports coach that, and I would be sitting at home making board games from sketch pens and cardboards and everything of that sort. And it was not something that came uh, out of an impulsion or any inspiration of that sort. I just felt that for me to be happy, this is what I had to do. And I, from my childhood to this age, have been obsessed with happiness. For me, anything else, if it doesn't make you happy, it is not meant for me. It has its pros and cons, but this has been my ideology of life. Just be obsessed with happiness, and for that, I have been blessed with amazing parents. I have got married to this wonderful wife, and my in-laws have always supported me for what I've done. It's just because I have channelized myself into thinking that, okay, fine, if you're not feeling happy now, you're going to feel happy the next moment. Because obviously, everything is like a crest and trough. So if you're at the most happiest state, you have to understand at some point of time that this is going to fade away. And if you're at the lowest low, feeling nothing that could change you or bring you a smile on your face, is also a point of time where things are going to be better and you're eventually going to be happy. So my ideology has always been be obsessed with happiness, because that's what you require at the end of the day. Be a happy individual. The range of applauding to that.
What about you, Amol? How would you say it? How do you look at life?
For me, I have learned to meditate a lot. Okay, so and it has developed my focus. Okay, it has developed my creativity. So that gives me more happiness. So that's it. My spiritual life is just restricted to meditation. That's it. Yeah, that gives me joy. That like I'm obsessed to. I'm also indirectly kind of obsessed to happiness. You can say. Yes.
Vinita, what about you?
I was telling this to my son before I came here, and he said, please don't mention this when you speak because it's very scattered. So I definitely want to talk about it then. I came from I had really cool parents, okay? And my father, I think, never went to a temple in his life. Uh, Anywhere he was, he would light a lamp, and that was enough for him. For him, lighting the lamp and praying inside him was, and therefore, I had really non-ritualistic parents. Nobody in my house, nobody fasted, no one chanted. It was like that. Okay, so for me, even now, if I go to a church, because I came from a Catholic school, I can sing at least 3 hymns along with everybody because that's the only prayer I knew. I knew the prayers because that's what we learned in school, and there was no teaching at home. I learned the Gayatri mantra for the first time in my life when I was 23 years old. So I came from that background of absolutely a blank slate. And I, of course, in my own search, I found I'm an art of living meditator. I've done my basic and my BSc. And then I found Vipassana. So I'm a serious Vipassana meditator. And from there, I found a teacher in Vedanta, and it was incredible because I found the Vedanta very, very fascinating. And if she hadn't thrown me out of her class, I would have had at least 6 years of Vedanta teaching. She threw me out of her class for whatever reason. For whatever reason, but yeah, so that's my background.
But I'm very keen to know, why did she throw you out of the class?
Oh, we had a political discussion, and she didn't like the way I talked.
Why would I have a political discussion on Vedanta?
I know, we were just having conversation, and I know that as a Vedanta teacher, I would never question her. I would only ask questions to learn. But at that point of time, I walked into class and we were discussing, and she brought up politics because something on the television, and I have a political stance, which I of course didn't realize it would be offensive to her. But she thought I was challenging her, and she did, and she threw me out of class, and she never took me back again. So I will look for a Vedanta teacher.
This brings me to something that I want to. That's my way of looking at this whole thing is whether you're a teacher who is teaching a big path, or you are like a really big guru or a thinker, whatever. At the end of the day, if the sense of who you are is so strong, then actually there's no point of doing all this, in a sense that if there is a sense of I who's doing all this, or I am the teacher, or the sense of this huge, what we call the ego, or the sense of self. Now the self word is a bit of a tricky word in this whole place, because but if there is a I center, then you can be the biggest guru in this whole world. It all falls kind of flat. So that means
I have a question, Suramita.
Yeah, but I'm very glad that you got out of that class, by the way. Then that was definitely not the right choice for you.
Though the Vedanta was actually giving you a good insight. But
no, the teacher I'm talking about, not the learning.
No, the teacher was a fantastic teacher, and I would have loved to learn. I don't know why that came, and I see that now. I see, even then I saw it, that if she could take something, any disagreement as questioning of her, then maybe she was not the right teacher. But I want to
Exactly
get
my
back to
point, that how can you teach something
yeah,
or consider yourself to know something with
yeah,
the knowledge of yourself?
yes,
My point is that, like, how can you say you know or you have a spiritual knowledge and then say that, oh, I am the person who knows it? Because the main idea of spirituality, for what I understand, is there cannot be an I,
yeah,
there cannot be a knower.
It doesn't make any sense when people say I know or I understand, because it's like there itself the person has created a barrier where
No,
he's not going
and
to live.
mainly forget the barrier. It is their understanding, but that is not the truth. If somebody says I know, meaning it's what they know, it's their perspective. It does not
Exactly. So
mean that
hence
that's
creating
truth.
that barrier that no new thoughts are going to come in. I know
Yeah,
what I know.
I realize in this country we have very strong political and religious views, and we are very
yeah,
non-tolerant of disagreement. And I've realized that and decided to take a back step on that. It's
yes,
just that. It's as
Also,
simple as we
being
don't accommodate.
yeah,
Sorry.
yes,
no
Anil.
problem. Also, I think in this country we think of disagreement as hate.
Yes.
If I disagree with you, it's like, why is he hating me? I didn't say anything for him to hate me. I was like, no, but I'm just disagreeing to your point. I can still respect you as an individual, but that doesn't mean I always agree to whatever you say. So
Absolutely.
that is also a huge mindset which the country needs to take care of.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Disagreement is
Yeah.
equal to hate for some reason. So, yeah.
But also, what Vinita says, that our country cannot just separate the religious and the political views separately. They can't keep that, because
We
it is
can't.
so. It was created for a certain reason. The religious practices, when I look at my grandmother, that's
Yes.
complete bhakti, and you can't take away that bhakti from her when she used to put the
Yeah.
lamp and sit in front of the god. I mean, for her, that was her time, and sacred time with the god.
That's
Yes.
the piece.
And
Yes.
you can
Absolutely.
tell whatever, that she will make everybody stand upside down. She will not believe anybody if you start debating with her with the existence of god. And that is pure bhakti,
Yeah.
that is so difficult for our generation to, or probably even to
To
imagine, that
harness.
yeah, to
To
harness.
harness. Yeah. Yeah.
But see how we now, those same teachings, we always, like the simple thing of lighting a lamp, we make such a big deal out of it.
Big deal.
Such
Yeah.
a big deal. Somebody is asked to light a lamp. I mean, we made such a big deal, man. But why? Because he's the Prime Minister of India. I mean, again, now that I'm saying this, now people will suddenly put a label on me saying, okay, this is anti BJP or pro
Anti
BJP.
BJP.
Huh? So
Yeah.
I don't even get into
Trigger
that.
them all.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm saying, just see this, how our mentality has changed.
Yeah.
It is just like a deep-rooted thinking which already people had, but they just needed a catalyst, and I think the present government is the perfect catalyst for them. Because I don't know, man. Because for even a person to think that, okay, fine, this is now what it is, and totally forgetting what they were before the previous government was, is quite surprising, because most of the people have actually worked under the government which was not the present government. As when we see the staunch believers of the present government, they are the people who were at some point of time being the government servants for a government which is not the today's government. As a matter of fact,
Well, when you mention I'll come back to the our topic and not get into government at all.
fine.
Yeah, because I just don't want to ponder about this government business, because it doesn't make any sense to me. We will stick to living life to the fullest every moment. I think that's
Carpe
we
diem.
should we should kind of come back to. Um, so that brings me to this question, that do you see? I mean, this is something that I've been noticing, that do you see some people are a little more aware of spirituality, or living a little enhanced life, a little aware life than before, or what are your thoughts would be like, Vinita?
I think, like I said, every generation believes that they are the generations who's on a quest, and I think uh, every generation believes that the next generation doesn't know what they're doing. I think religion, and now when we look at it very holistically from medical point of view, a lot of people find that those who have spiritual practices, maybe not religious practices, or maybe religious practices, bhakti itself is such a calming thing. Having faith is such a grounding factor. It leaves you, in a better space. I think, therefore, I think religion has always found, really profound positive impact on health factors, and people go towards it in the end because you're so unsettled inside. I think spirituality can exist within or without religion. I think we can find our spirituality in nature. You can find it in your music, and some people find it in parts. So I feel, the fact that we have meditators and meditation practices happening more now, I feel. But maybe we don't know better. Maybe they also, I mean, we know that the most powerful yogis came 100 years ago, maybe more than that, so things like that. Yeah, so I think it's
Maybe
a relative
also
thing.
it's a relative thing, but more with internet, I think the information is so much at the tip of your finger that people are, I don't know whether it also comes with a lot of wrong information though, but I just feel that people are maybe a little more aware of what's going on around. What do you think, Anish? What's your point of view on this?
Uh, we are now in a generation that has has adapted themselves to question anything and everything that is happening. Even when you're holding the guitar, you would ask, "Why am I playing this chord?" As compared to the generation before, who would just play the chord because it's what is being told to them. All right. So previously, there was a generation that never had to question others. The moment an elder would say anything, it was set in stone for them, and it was never to be questioned again. The main reason the previous generation also worked hard for our generation to live or even have a peaceful life where we could question these things is also something which we have to be grateful to them, because obviously if the things would have been like this, I would have only chosen spirituality after I'm retired, because that's what people usually do. I'll get retirement and then I'll think of spirituality, because the whole time I'm just trying to make my ends meet, and the whole time I'm going to work hard to make my family flourish, to provide for my family or something of that sort. And now in this generation, people are actually asking questions. People are like, okay, why is this like this? Why why am I having, or even recognize their emotions and actually coming out. Men, for example, men have actually come out and giving out their true emotions, which back then never used to happen, because they used to feel like any form of giving out emotion was considered a sign of weakness. And now people have evolved to a state where every emotion is something that needs to be shared. But at the same time, we have to understand how much do we have to share and how much we have to gather and from where we have to gather. So I think this generation definitely has a lot of independence as far as thinking spiritual is concerned, because we have that independence of wanting to think about what is happening with me, where am I lacking, simple questions that we never used to ask, or they never used to ask themselves. What is lacking in me? What is going to make me a better person? Or
But I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you think there are also this bunch of people who don't ask these questions at all? Or are there these atheists, I would say, or are they non-believers? Are there people, they just think that whatever I'm doing is best? मैं तो
I,
अपनी favorite हूँ.
I really feel that there is no such word as non-believers, because there is belief in everything. Even the non-believers have a set of dogma that they go through and that they follow. It's just a discriminated word used by the staunch believers, like the black and white. कि हम सफेद हैं, आप काले हो. It's just that time when they use the word non-believers. Even atheists have their set of principles.
I
They
mean non-believer of gods. Like they don't have a certain god. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So those people are also have a set of principles. It is not inspired from the usual principles what the majority are choosing. It might be just something which they feel is right, or their mini cult for that matter feels like. So I think that's what is the question to your answer, the non-believers.
I would
I also agree with you, Suramita, when I say that it's happening younger though. I think that is that little change. Like what Anish said, older generation after retirement would get into spirituality, and especially the men. I think now it's men and women, and I think it's a lot more younger. The crowd is a lot more younger than it was probably 2 generations ago. I think we are also using it in schools, and children are being sent as teenagers and things like that. So that is I think the change, the difference right now. I go on a working day to a place where there's some yogi or guru, and you'll find men over there on a working day coming there as much as women, as much as teenagers and young kids. So that is, I think, that is very startling for me to see that. Didn't expect that, but it is there. Yes.
Yeah. I
Also,
think
the younger generation.
Yes, someone.
Also, the younger generation is more concerned about their mental health these days. So that is also a point because of which more a crowd is moving towards spirituality and all.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it brings me to the fact that how we used to, I mean, again, it's a conditioning of the of human life, that you have these 4 stages of life, where the last one is vanaprastha. That is the time after 60 that you are going to now stay with God. You go to the forest and kind of be with God. But I think now that is a bit of a, it's a little different, I feel that. And also I think there are these wonderful beings, of course, this the masters that we see around, who kind of make the whole idea so simple. Like, for example, how what Sadhguru has been teaching, or what Sri Ravishankar also has been this or teaching, or the practices or the methods are almost like packaged for a certain audience, and easy to kind of pick up and start practicing from tomorrow.
Exactly.
So interesting, and this is, I think, a topic that we can all keep talking about, and there are a lot of point of views here. I'm sure a lot of people will have, but yes. So I think we would just come to at least this last topic, where I would like all of you guys to talk about that, the need of a guru and how does one find out. And I have always felt that a lot of people do have this calling inside, or a feeling that, okay, I need to enhance my life, not in the particular way of the materialistic way, but how does a guru, I mean, of course, we know this also, that the guru finds you when the time is right. So, and I hope that, at least people get to see, I mean, listen to our series also, and kind of find out all the different paths or the different processes the different gurus or the masters offer, and choose their own path. But what is your take on this, on a path that one chooses, and also your last note on the series? We'll start with Anish.
I think the path that one chooses should be based on one's experiences. It shouldn't be based on how others are living, or how others are imposing their kind of lifestyle on you. It never depends on that. It only depends on you, because I think experience is your best teacher, and experience is what gives you or makes you meet the guru which you would want to see. As far as this series is concerned, I absolutely love the fact how people are going to know their gurus better, or find a new guru which they found, oh my God, I never heard of this person, and this is going to be very interesting for me. Let me research more on this person. It personally happened for me as far as Om Swami was concerned, because
Yeah,
I
we were.
never, I did mention it to you. I never heard of that visionary. So for a person who has everything in his life, who never wanted to ask for anything else, business is going good. Porsche is like firing the roads. One fine day, just plans to go to Himalayas for self realization. That was something which really knocked my socks off. I was like, oh my God, how is that possible? In this age of materialism, where people are actually craving moving from one materialistic need to the other, how do one just decide to leave everything and just go without? I would also say it is kind of inconsiderate, because at that point of time, there are a lot of people who are actually hanging on to you, and there are a lot of societal norms that you are obliged to, and to have that courage to actually thinking of just leaving that aside and choose a path for yourself is, I think, something which we all would need to go through at some point. So I think that's my two
On
cents.
that note, I must also remind all of us that Buddha also left his wife and his child one beautiful night. And I think that is a time when, for a person, the responsibility of one's own life becomes smaller than the responsibility that one feels for the whole world or humanity as a whole. We have lost Vinita. Okay. What about you, Amol? What would be your last note for the audience about the series?
I think people should stop looking for any guru and let naturally experience spirituality through natural experiences, because the guru will eventually find you. Okay, so no need to find run behind spirituality. Your spirituality is a natural process. It will embrace you someday. It does for all of us. Tomorrow, who knows? We might become some spiritual guru or something. Sorry,
Baba
Anish is saying, yes, you have already grown hair and also it will be like easy for you.
Yeah, I actually had to look for this particular series that you played.
Yes.
And I absolutely love how you mentioned about the black and white, and you were actually standing in front of the window and sitting, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
There's this light on one side and there is the shadow on the other side. I was like, oh.
That is how it came to my mind, actually.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
wonderful. Vinita, are you there? Can you hear us? Are you audible? No, she's not.
No,
Okay.
she's not there.
So,
Okay, but
your views. What do you feel? What did this series made a difference in your life?
I really wanted to make this series because of only one fact, that I have actually probably been one person who is. I have experienced different times with different practices in my life for the longest time, but it was just a very, I would say, the inner seeking that one had, and therefore also finding out the similarities of what they speak about, their teachings, and also the differences. And that was one part that I was very keen to share with the world, and also in a way making people aware of the fact that they're actually not speaking too different from each other. Their processes are definitely different, but also never to confuse or put the teacher and the teaching in the same bracket, because the teachings are very different from the teacher. So we should never confuse those two things. So definitely I wanted to kind of make this series for all kind of people, and that is something I think we all have been able to do that, to bring about the teachings of these various thinkers. Yes, Vinita is back, and your last note, and this background is very cool. Tell me.
I didn't get the question. I think I missed last 5 minutes.
We were discussing about your last note to the audience about the series, and what would you kind of draw the inference from the whole conversation?
I think the series is interesting and learning, and it's a huge amount of knowledge. And I think it's a great guidance for anyone who goes through it, because you will learn about the mind and the soul behind that force, behind that movement that took place, and why it had the kind of influence it did have. I think, and you have the choice of understanding in very simple and in very precise way a whole 360 dimension to each guru, each yogi, each master, each teacher's journey and what they taught. I think that is what I think this whole series is about.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. And I hope people listen to the series more and find their own path from the gurus or within themselves, as Amol says. But find something, right? Find the light.
Amol and Vinita, again, a very concise script that I got, and so much information packed into it. I really can. I have really no words to describe how much research might have gone into it, and how, again, coming back to the same point, like how easier you made my work. So thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions?